Says the Heliga, Kovetz Halachos, a page Lamed Beis. Page Lamed Beis. We're discussing a shliach. Now this is Grada. I feel as we grow up, this becomes very, very relevant. Sometimes one has an elderly grandmother, one has a relative, so says, oh, can you help me come do the bedika? It's like, okay, sure, no problem. But 1 second, if you're doing the bedika for them, do you have all the halachas of the bedika on you? How does this work? Says Kovetz Halachos, halacha yud ches. Misha mina shliach lev doich ben shviloi. If someone appoints a shliach, so number one, what do they do? If you remember the previous year, the Kovetz Halachos was very not forgiving with a shomer. He was not so quick, even though maybe in Heintik Psak, and I'll say Gamani is part of that world, that in the Shas Atzchak, when someone can't do it, we say, okay, at least make a shomer, because that's at least. That doesn't mean it's what you should do. If someone calls up on Leil B'dika, I'm stuck at work, I can't come home, what am I supposed to do? They said, okay, so make a shomer, set an alarm, have your wife remind you, and then you'll do it. But that's not the lichatchila. Here, let's say you can't do B'dika. So what do? Someone does B'dika for you, and then you are allowed to eat, you are allowed to drink. And then your test is a direct segue. If someone is appointed, you are the shliach, yesh listapik. To suffix, if you're allowed to learn, he's very not sure. It's a beautiful hara. I mean, all the haras are beautiful. In the hara Chavdalit over here, which he quotes, Geshmak Raid, when you make a shliach lomeles benoi, if you are still considered the mitzvah is mutal upon you, that you can't eat kait in the milah, different shitas over here. Rav Shmuel comes along and he says, the suffix is, because on one hand, kivin shkivalat lasa mitzvah, you have to do it. On the other hand, anytime that we find that someone else is doing the mitzvah for you, you're not nechlal on the dinim, v'tzarech Ian Ladina. And he says, Ayin in Halchas Chanukah, I don't know what he writes over there, very relevant as well. He continues in Siv Chaf, you became the shliach. You became Misha Nisman Shliach lived b'shvil Chaveiroi, Yesh Avim Mutter Loy Lach Ulum Lasas Mochem Mishiki Zman Avdika. B'toim Elazeh, now he continues, they should have B'shamish Abudi B'Yisik Nasis, very relevant case, the Gabbai. He's doing the B'dika in the shul. Mutter Lach Ulum Lasas Malacha, Mishagia Zman B'dika. Over here, it's interesting. Over here, he says yesh l'stapik, and in the basically the same thing. On the bottom in Chafei, he points out that maybe a shliach, a shamash is worse because there's a chiyuv to be biting the basic inases. Still, he says l'maisa it's a suffix, which means don't eat in such a scenario. Chaf Aleph is, now we get into very relevant cases. Anyone going away gets into all these situations. When do you do the bedika? How do you do the bedika, etc.? So if you can't do the bedika on the night of the 14th, now here Shmuel's about to say a chiddush. I think, and this happens, I won't tell you how many people this happens to, because many people fly Erev Yontif. So let's say this year Yontif is Monday night is a Seder. No, so the night before, not an Erev Yontif. Meaning Monday night's the Seder. No one wants to fly on Monday, so when do you fly? Sunday night. No, it happens to be this year because it's a Sunday. Could be people will be flying earlier, but often it's a work day. So you don't fly till when? Sunday night. Oh, guess what? You have to do a bedika. When do you do the bedika? You got to be there for 3 hours earlier. So when do you do the bedika? So there's two stadim over here. Either earlier in the day, the 14th by day. Well, so we have to go in order. Number one is, when do you do the bedika in this situation? So either the 14th by day. Says Rav Shmuel, and again, we're talking about one bedika. If now you're going to want to know, wait, when I'm going to a hotel, I'm going to rent an apartment, do I have to do bedika there? It's a separate shayla, which we're going to get to. First, we're dealing with you have a chiv bedika here, and you're leaving. Near the Adiv Livdai Balel Yud Gimel. He says it's better to be baidik the night before than being baidik the day of. Another reason why you learn halachas prior, because if not, you call up the rabbi the day of, oh my gosh, my flight's tonight, when do I do the bedika? Well, you couldn't have done the night before anymore. What? Near the Adiv lived Belel, you gimel lived b'yoyim yod dalid. Leil yod gimel. The night before. In our case, this year, Matzei Shabbos. Yeah. I'm missing it. Tell me what are we talking about? Monday night is Yontif. Mm-hmm. Oh, you're asking what about Sunday morning? Okay, good. No, I understand what you're saying. Good, thank you. So let's look at Chavav, Har Chavav. It's Amrei Rav Shlita. The bedika b'yoyim einay bedika malya. He says even though you want a bedika closer to Yom Tif, and you want a bedika l'chayra on your dalid, that's when the takana was to do the bedika. Still, he says it's better to do it at night. He says, what if you maybe it'll make your house dark, etc., etc. No, he wants the bedika to be done. And he says we can be mitzaref for the paiskin that says even on the 14th by day, maybe you can make a bracha v'chulu, which we're going to see that you don't make a bracha. But lamaisa, that's Rav Shmuel's psak. This is I'm pretty sure. I understand now what you're asking. I'm pretty sure, based on his svara, it would be the exact same thing as doing it on the 13th by day. Thank you. I'll everyone. This year, if you're flying this Sunday night, so when do you do the bedika? No. In your house. Slow. I live in Muncie. Right. Again, it's so. Everyone, let's all get on the same page. I'll talk about myself. I live in Muncie. Let's say I have a flight Sunday night to Florida. When did I do the bedika? So I would have thought, before I learned Rosh Shmuel, and many people think, Sunday day. And when you call up the rabbi on Sunday, say, oh no, I'm not going to be home tonight. When do I do bedika? You have to do bedika in your house. Now, you're discussing, what about where you're going to bedika? That's something else. Again. His svara. I understand. But his svara, again, his svara is. I'm sorry. You are all correct. I'm sorry. I jumped this step. His svara. No. We're talking about in a minute. Hopefully, you don't make a bracha. The svara is he doesn't want to bedika by day. Nikuda. So the answer is anyone says, oh, I'm leaving. When do you do bedika? The night before you leave. That's the answer. Let's continue. If you forgot to do bedika, remember and say Yantiv, Mishach lived the good about the Kamlan Simon Tafel Am. Hey, Boydik B'tocha Pesach. In this could be Yivdik Miyad. Eliamtin Adalayla. Don't do bedika by day. Yivdik Oz Ba'ar Haner. And again, he continues, and this is even a bigger chiddush if you think about it. It's on Pesach, and you didn't do bedika yet. Wait till the night. Givaldik. Now. So we didn't get there yet. You're discussing, what about, we're discussing the case that you have to bedika in your house. You want to know, what if I sold my house, I'm doing bedika somewhere else? Yeah. We didn't get, I didn't answer that question. I'm not answering that question yet, because the real answer is, it depends on how you do your mechira. If you do your mechira the earlier mechira, and you're going to be elsewhere, then you can do it. But we didn't get to yet. I don't want to get confusing. It's a separate halacha, and it gets very confusing. So let's just, right now we're discussing, you had to do a bedika in your house, and when do you do it? The night before. And by the way, it's very interesting. In like Hilchos Pesach world, this is, I believe, top 5 shaylas. Mamish. Because no one remembers till like, oh my gosh, because what am I doing? Everyone's very busy. Wait, do I do it before I leave? Should I do it? I'm leaving, after Plag. It gets confusing, but this is what Rosh Shmuel paskins. You do it the night before. Let's continue. Let's just do a few halachas of the bracha. So now we get into the bracha, and it's interesting. I never did it this way. I always did it like the Elam's here asking is first, when do you have the chiyuv b'dika? And it's obviously a seichel to what he's doing, and I think it actually compartmentalizes it. Very nice. You do have a bracha. Says Siv Aleph, first of all, very interesting. The Magen Avraham quotes Maril and Abach that you should wash your hands before you do the bedika. Says Rav Shmuel in the footnote Aleph, it's not the minhag. Ain't noigin ledaktik bazad. Aruch HaShulchan says you should. Vaynoid Aruch HaShulchan. L'maisa Mishnah Berurah quotes this. It's a Magen Avraham. I don't say Mishnah Berurah. And Mishnah Berurah, the reason is, he says, because Tam Yadayim nowadays are clean. And there are those that say, which again, I'm not arguing in Rosh Shmuel, but Lamaisa, unfortunately, our bedikas have a lot to be desired. I think we all realize that. And, we sort of, light a candle, make a bracha, run around the house, and put on the Yankee game, or what's the Yankee game on. So again, I'm not arguing, but if maybe in one's personal life, washing his hands beforehand gives him like a moment to think like, I'm about to do bedikas chametz, maybe there's a maila, just a balabatish maila for our own self, more like almost like putting on the gartel. Just, okay. Sif Bees, you forgot to make the bracha. Classic. Already finished. When do you make the bracha? Tomorrow, when you burn your chametz. If you look at the bottom over here, this is a world war. So first of all, we have to quote the first halacha is if you're middle of the bedika, you still can make the bracha. I think it's obvious. He quotes the Ramah. Continues, what if you finished? The Goin says you don't make a bracha at the time of the Sreifa. Mishnah Berurah says, not so forgiving. Our Chashulchan says, Lamaisa, we make the bracha, says the Iker is the Gemar mitzvah, which is at the time of the Sreifa, and that's what we pass, is if you have to make the bracha, you make the bracha at the time of the Bittul. Now, what happens if you messed up the bracha? This is for sure very, very common. Because if you ask anyone, what's the bracha b'dikas chametz? I don't know, al b'dikas chametz. Well, so if you're smart enough to know, don't trust yourself, open a siddur and read it, then you realize it's al bir chametz. And you're like, no, the b'dikas chametz. So where is that? No, give me a different siddur. Yeah, we've all seen that one. No, they misprinted it, Pashtin, in the b'dikas chametz again. Anyways, in tov amr levayer chametz, you're yaitze. If you said al mitzvahs chametz, you're yaitze. If you said al b'dikas chametz, you're yaitze, which we all can understand, because the bracha is actually, if you look at the footnote, it's not so pashut, because brachas were nitkan, and you messed up the bracha. Maisi says, Yatzeh, do you make a new bracha tomorrow when you burn it? He says, no. If you made a bracha, you don't make a new bracha when you burn it. And if you look at Haravav, he says Rav Shmuel, Ki seif me'elu l'nitzka bracha miyuchez al bir levada, ve'em yadein l'kvar bracha levada. Can be kivei bracha on the beer. So we have a bracha on the bedika, and ulachein kiv jabircha bedika nimz yivarchi kikvi, and therefore he says along this. If you were to make another bracha on the beer, it's keilu you make a new bracha. You shouldn't do that, and you were yaitze. What if you made a shechiyanu? This is gavaldi. This is for sure like shana rishayna. Guy's like first time in his life doing a bedika, he's like all fired up. He washes his hands, he makes a al bedikas chametz, and then he makes a shechiyanu. He says it's not a hefsek. Why? No, excuse me, I read the wrong way. Why is it not a hefsek? The reason is because many places you make a shechianu. Which, if you think about it, makes a lot of sense. It's a new mitzvah every year. Interesting. Another thing to keep in mind. I don't know if the machzarim have this one yet. That the shechianu on your kais rishon goes back on your b'dikas chametz gishmak. A nice lumdis of Rav Shmuel. And finally, sevav, if your house is very clean and you didn't put out the 10 pieces, like Rav Shmuel himself, you do, and obviously the yakis, please be careful. Still, you make a bracha. And finally, let's just finish with Siv Zayin. Anytime you're not doing a b'dika on the 14th, here's the cloud. That you have to make when do you do bedika? Already you learned that the night before. You don't put out the 10 pieces of bread. Why not? You only put out 10 pieces of bread to make the bracha, and you don't make a bracha if you're not doing the bedika bismanai. So today we really can sum up the whole shir into one line. You do bedika at the right time. If you cannot, you do it the night before without the bracha and without the 10 pieces of bread. And what's the bracha? Al bir chametz. If you mess up, and he said levayer, or al badikas chametz, or al mitzvahs bir chametz, or shechiyanu, then lamaisa you're still yotzei.